All right, in this video, it's day 2 of my 30-day challenge. So for those of you just tuning into this video, in 30 days, I'm trying to see if I can start a successful e-commerce store. I'm gonna launch a Shopify, like actual e-commerce store, and do a Kickstarter. Give myself 30 days. And one of the things to keep in mind though, is with what I'm doing, I'm only working on it 1 day a week. So it's 30 working days. And I'm doing it every Friday. It's kind of like my fun time. Google has what they call 20% time, meaning that Google employees are allowed to, for 20% of their time, work on whatever project they want. This is my personal 20% time project. So in this video, I'm actually gonna explain what my company is gonna be. I'm not gonna give all the details, but I'm gonna give a lot more details. In the first video, day 1, I didn't give almost any details about what I was doing, which I think is kind of silly. You know, I think might as well start telling. Plus, I have a lot of cool things that I want to explain that I need to tell you what the product is. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what the product is, and I'm going to tell you what I did for this first day. So one of the first things I did, and one of the more important things I did, is I called a bunch of co-packers. So when you're creating a business, a lot of times you don't want to do the manufacturing yourself, especially if you're going to scale and grow larger. I'm looking to produce about, I think, 2,000, maybe 3,000 units that'll be for sale. And if I'm gonna do that, I can't do that in my own test kitchen. So that's one of the things I did. You know what, I'm just gonna tell you what it is right now. It'll make the rest of the video a lot easier. It's actually gonna be a nut butter. So I went out, and one of the things I did was bought a bunch of competitors, examples. And you've probably seen things like this. Justin's nut butter is a good example. This nuts, what is this called? Nutso. That's kind of a good example of the kind of thing I'm doing. Artisana, some other ones. So I just went to Whole Foods and I saw what they had, and they had a lot of different kinds. I don't know if you can see all those, but yeah. So one of the first things I did is I bought a lot of the competitors' brands so I could see what does their packaging look like, what is the consistency. The next thing I did is actually call some of these brands and tried to see, hey, can you manufacture this product for me? And if you can't, can you direct me to someone who could? And that's one of the big lessons I learned, is call the people that, like your ideal people, or people that are doing something similar to you in the market. Now, some of these companies are smaller companies, and they're willing to, they have some excess capacity. They have some, you know, the production line, but they're not using the production line to 100% capacity. So if I come in and say, hey, I'll buy an 8-hour shift worth of it, they're willing to do that because it's extra money in their pocket. That's one of the things I learned. Another thing is, originally I was gonna have 3 flavors of the nut butter. I decided to just go to 1. So I'm following the lean startup method, and anyone that's read the book, if you haven't read the book, I think it's just the lean startup. Read that book, especially if you're looking at starting a company. It's hard. I've been struggling with it because originally I wanted to have 3 SKUs, and I wanted to do, you know, this, that, and have all these bells and whistles, but I had to cut a lot of that. And I decided I'm gonna go a lot more simple. Start with 1 SKU. I also want to try to get the first sample, the first sellable sample ready as quickly as possible. In fact, one of the next things I did was I created my first batch of the nut butter here. And I'm not gonna tell exactly what's in it. It looks a little weird because, you know, it's an old can. I recycled an old mason jar that I had. So I whipped up the first batch just right in my kitchen. I had a food processor, mixed it up, and I started getting people to taste test it. So far, obviously, I taste tested it, and I had 2 friends also taste it, and it's really, really good. I'm really happy with version 1.0. I have some tweaks, some changes that I might want to add, but it's good. Like, I can see this becoming a big success. So one of the next things I did is I wanted to test it, see if I could get it in like little packets. So I bought some of these type packets. This one I cut and ripped off and whatever. Basically, I was gonna see if I could put the nut butter in here and then use a heat sealer. I bought a heat sealer off Amazon, and I wanted to see, would this work? And actually, funny enough, you can see some of the, I don't know if you can see that, but some of the macadamia nut, almond butter, whatever. Actually, that's not the exact ingredients I have. Some of my nut butter, which is funny to say, but some of it dripped out here because the way I had to do it was I had to put the nut butter in here, and then go here, try to close it, and it kind of squished out, which didn't really work so well. So my initial idea was just to make some batches myself And I'll show you this actually. So you can kind of see, let's see if it goes into focus. Yeah, you can see it doesn't really close all the way. And the problem was the nut butter actually got in the way right there. So that was the next thing I did. And one of the things I learned from that I think could apply to anybody trying to do a startup is the heat sealer was I think 25, 30 bucks. The packets were probably about $5. And it was a hypothesis that I had. It was something that I wanted to test. Could I do this on my own? Do I need to do a co-packer, or can I, maybe produce 100 on my own and try selling them at gyms or farmers markets or whatever, whatever you want? And the answer is no. It's really hard to do myself. I originally wanted to do this too so I could give out test samples to people. Probably won't be able to do it. I mean, one of the things I might be able to do is buy bigger containers, and I could have something to actually fill it so the nut butter doesn't get in the way. But that is for later on. So I think I'm gonna finish up here with the big lessons, the big takeaways for this day 2. So just to recap what I did, I called a bunch of co-packers. And that's something I think is very uncomfortable, is to get on the phone and just start calling people. One of the things I realized is, and a buddy of mine kept saying this, but you don't really believe it until you find multiple people. But he kept saying, you're the prize. Remember, you're the prize. These people, that's their business, is to get new people coming in so they could help them manufacture your product. And when I only had one person, so far I have at least I actually have 3 companies that are able to do exactly what I want, manufacture the nut butters, put them into the pouches, all that kind of stuff. So I have 3 companies right now that can do it, and one of them I like more than the others, but I don't know if they're necessarily the best price. I have to still deal with that. But now, since I have 2 other options, if there's something where I have more negotiating power, and I'm realizing that I am the prize. Like, I'm the person, I'm the best, I'm the prize. Like, in this engagement, I have the power. So far I have 3 companies. There's about 20, 30 other potential people that I can call for co-packing, and I'm gonna call all of them. And I'm sure by the end I'll have 6 or 7 different people that could do exactly what I'm looking to do. It's also making me think about different possible options on how to produce it. The next thing that I realized is, like I said, I'm trying to follow the lean startup model. So I'm probably gonna try to get about 50 or so of these just mason jars, go down to whatever, a farmer's market, stand outside Whole Foods. I'm gonna figure it out and try to get it in the hands, try to sell it to people. Try to say, hey, would you pay $25 for this? Would you pay whatever? And try to follow up with them too. Maybe get their phone number, call them a few days later and say, hey, how'd you like it? What can I change? How can I make it better? All that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited about that. So I can iterate really quickly and try to figure it out, because I do want to launch it as a Kickstarter. So I want it to be pretty decent by the time I launch it as a Kickstarter. It's not going to be perfect. You know what? And part of that's going to be the first 1,000 that I ship out. People might complain, oh, it's too this or too that, too salty or not enough salt, or I don't like this flavor, I wish it had this flavor instead, whatever it is. But my idea is to iterate as quickly as possible and get out the first sample, go from there. So that's some of the things I learned. Another thing I learned is simplify. I had this grand vision, and that's probably 1 year down the road. I want to do 3 different flavors. That's not yet. I gotta realize that. So that's another thing I learned. I'm trying to think, what else. So far, it's been a really fun experience. I also learned spend some money. Like I said, I paid 25, 30 bucks for this, $5 for the packets. Something that's funny is I spent probably about 30 minutes researching the heat sealer and trying to figure it out. And I was kind of nervous. Do I spend the money? Do I not spend the money? If I would have been a little bit more, not impulsive, that's the wrong word, but if I would have been a little bit more just like, let's do it, it's a test, I wouldn't have wasted that 30 minutes, probably to an hour that I spent looking for the perfect heat seal and the perfect pouches. And I still would have came to the same conclusion that, oh, this probably isn't a great idea. That being said, I might try it again with bigger pouches. I might try it again with some other things that I might tweak and change, something to fill the pouches, etc. So one of the big lessons and takeaways is test as early as possible. I wouldn't recommend planning out this elaborate vision and then waiting a year and testing all the pieces in small batches. Test in big batches, and what I mean by that is try to get it in people's hands as early as possible. Try to sell it as early as possible. And it's still a little premature for me to say that because I still haven't sold anything. But that's one of my goals for either next week or the week after that, is to actually buy, like I said, 50 of these mason jars worth, and stand outside Whole Foods, stand outside some kind of a gym or something, and just see if I can get people to taste test it, see if I can get people to buy it. And I think that is my big conclusion. Like I said, next week, my big goal is to keep calling co-packers. I want to call all the co-packers, and it's kind of hard sometimes to get a hold of them, especially on Fridays. I feel like a lot of people are checked out, since that's the main day I'm working on this. A lot of people are checked out. I also want to follow up with the co-packers I already have talked to and try to get some things more solidified. And the other thing is, hopefully within the next week or two, get the mason jars. I'm also going to be starting the Instagram for it, starting some other little bits and pieces here. But yeah, I think another thing I probably will end up doing is making some kind of design work. Just something very simple, because this looks kind of goofy because it just looks like a jar of, gook. But I think if I put like a nice pretty label on there, it'll make a huge difference. So that's one of my other things I'll probably do, is try to just make a basic label, get some sticker paper. That way when I'm handing out samples even to friends, it doesn't look like it's some kind of homemade concoction. It looks a little bit better. Nothing too crazy. I'll probably just spend 30 minutes on that. So that is what I'm doing, and thanks for watching this video. I will keep giving you more details about what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep giving you all the updates on what's going on. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click that subscribe button. If you have any questions about starting a business, the startup process, please leave it in the comments below. I'll answer all of them. Chances are, if it's a decent question, I'll even make a video out of it. And by decent, I mean something that other people would find interesting as well. So leave a comment below, like the video, do all that fun stuff, and thank you for watching this video.